Hello, and welcome to Michigan and Other Mayhem, the show about Michigan, murder, mysteries, histories, and other mayhem from around the world. Your hosts are Allie
and Jen.
Okay, Jen, let's do this thing.
Hello, Jen.
Hey, Allie.
What you doing?
Trying to stay warm.
Oh, is your house cold?
Yeah, it's cold out today. Yesterday was windy. So I'm over this. I'm in my bed, using my bed jet to keep myself warm.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have that bed jet. Didn't you say you liked it?
Oh my goodness. So before I used to use the mattress pads, the fitted mattress pad that heated up.
Okay.
Bed jet is the best. I want another one for the other side of the bed. But it does heat, and then in the summer when you're hot, it's a fan.
So isn't it, if I remember correctly from looking at your bed, isn't it a thing that it sits at the foot of your bed and it has this like long tube that comes out, and the tube doesn't go underneath your covers?
Yep, you just throw your covers over it.
And it blows hot air underneath your covers in winter and cool air during the summer, right?
Right.
Oh my God.
It's great.
I have the heated mattress pad. That's how I live through Michigan winter.
Well, I had that for many years.
Yeah.
I love that too, but it is nice to be able to control the heat. So It goes up to 104 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So
that's warm.
Right. So you can do whatever. You got more of a range.
Yeah.
You're going to have to try it out.
You live somewhere cold when you have full-on discussions on how do you stay warm at night.
Right.
You know what I mean? Although I must say I am someone that does like a cold room and like a hot bed, like a whole bunch of blankets and it's warm, but the room is cold. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I read an article the other day that said you get to have good sleep, real good sleep. You have to have your room needs to be cool. And I'm like, yeah, that person does not live in the northern states.
Right. But if it gets too cold, you're actually more likely to have nightmares. I think it's like if it goes below 56 degrees Fahrenheit, you're more likely to have nightmares.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So I think there's like a sweet spot, you know what I mean? Between like sweating your ass off uncomfortable, you can't go to sleep, and freezing your ass off uncomfortable, you can't go to sleep. You know what I mean? And in Michigan, we get a little bit of both because there are times in the summer, like if I don't have the air conditioning on, there's no way I can sleep. No way.
Wow. What do you got? What do you got for us today?
Okay. Well, I don't know if you realize, but this is going to come out January 1st.
Ooh, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year. I thought, what a better way to bring in the new year than to talk about like revenge deaths or deaths that like you tried to kill someone and then you die also.
Okay.
Right. Just to teach us that there's such thing as karma. Let's remember it. Okay.
Right.
Start this new year right. 2021. Let's hope it's better than that cursed ass 2020.
Right. Well, I'm starting the new year with a story about 2 infants' deaths.
Oh, shit. Okay. How about you go first?
Yeah, I'm starting off this. So you started off shitty and then it just gets better, I think.
Okay. I'm down with that plan. I'm down with any it gets better plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the summer of 2003, in Stickney Township, Chicago.
Okay.
In a black shoebox, a waste management worker found 2 deceased infants, one still having the placenta attached.
Oh, wow.
When an autopsy was completed, it was found the 2 infants were born alive and were murdered by asphyxiation.
Oh, shit.
The case went cold, and in 2018, the police cold case team reopened the investigation, testing DNA evidence to see if they could locate the mother.
Okay.
Somehow, couldn't figure out how this happened. Okay. But somehow the police investigation took them to Holly, Michigan.
Shit. Okay.
To track down Antoinette Briley, age 41. She currently had a 12-year-old daughter at the time.
Okay.
So they surveillanced her, and when they saw her drop a cigarette, they picked it up, tested the DNA against the infants, and they got a match.
Oh my God.
She went back to Chicago, I guess, I don't know, to visit somebody, but she was stopped there at stopped by a police for a traffic violation.
Okay.
And was arrested.
All right.
She's facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. Oh, I gotta turn my page.
No problem.
Post Miranda rights. So before she was read her rights,
Okay.
she did
Wait,
say,
post means after.
or I mean after. I'm
okay,
sorry.
after. Okay.
After.
No problem. Okay.
Was she did admit supposedly to the murders.
Okay.
The KIR 7 news reports that she birthed the children. They were crying. She panicked. She put them in a bag and she headed to the hospital. On her way to the hospital, she changed her mind. And then she put the infants in the trash bin.
Oh.
The Tribune reports her saying she of course wishes she could take it all back if she could. And then trying to get out of jail on bond, her lawyer was quoted telling the court she had no criminal record. She works at an assembly plant in Michigan.
Okay.
And has a daughter, and she's not a flight risk. But currently she's being held on a $150,000 bond.
Yeah, I would say honestly, even if she just agreed, like, I promise you can do something to me that guarantees I have no more kids and, let me out on probation. Or I don't know. She still has a 12-year-old. I don't know. I'm conflicted. And I don't know what to think.
So, yeah, for me, there's plenty of things. You could have just taken them to the hospital.
You're allowed to drop them off nowadays at a fireplace or fireplace. Don't do it at somebody's fireplace. Don't do it at somebody's fireplace, but take it to a firehouse where firemen are.
Yeah.
Don't Santa those babies. Don't Santa them. Don't take them down the fireplace, but take them to a firehouse, police station, or hospital and just drop them off. No questions asked. The babies are taken. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So for me, I'm like, you could have done all kinds of stuff. You don't have, nowadays you can give children up very easily. Now there's where I disagree with some things, but you can give them up, and not have any consequences. You put them, you were going to go to the hospital, supposedly. You put them in a trash bin. What amazed me on this story is that how in the world did they track that down?
Yeah, that is amazing.
Was
it do like the genealogy shit where they do the forensic genealogy? I don't know. How would they do? They're fucking amazing nowadays.
And the fact,
I'm telling you, in the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear a lot of ones about where people go back and cold case this shit because we've got shit now to figure out who through DNA somebody is. They're getting really good at this.
Right. And they don't, and I like that they don't give up.
I do like that too. Or that they go back again, like somebody's like, another guy shows up. I'm like, you know what? Let me give this a try. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or sometimes they go through and just look for stuff that had DNA evidence that is unsolved. I'm actually fine with that too. Let's do as many quick ones as we can, before we get to the other things.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got a couple to tell you about. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So Michelle Weissman, she's like 56 years old in 2020. She worked at Cannery Casino as a front desk manager, and she was married to her husband, Lonnie. And when the pandemic hit, Michelle, and she preferred to go by the name Shelly, took up bike riding as a way to spend her time. And she enjoyed like living in the city of Las Vegas, Nevada, and she like going through the city's bike lanes. I mean, it's a big city, and she just really loved riding around, right? On October 28th, 2020, Shelly's biking in the proper bike lane when all of a sudden this minivan came speeding up behind her, doing about 50, 60 miles an hour. And inside the minivan was driver Rodrigo Cruz, who was 22 years old, and his passenger, Giovanni Medina, I think it's Barajas, who was just 20 years old. So Giovanni leaned out the window of the minivan, wanting to knock Shelly off her bike. You know what I mean? Like he's leaning the top portion of his body out of the passenger window with every intention of knocking her off her bike. And he succeeds. Oh, yeah. And although she had on a bike helmet, she still died of her injuries. They think it's because, you know, they were going so fast. They push her, you know, she falls to the ground. And now with, you know, a great force, she has multiple blunt force injuries. She dies.
Okay.
Yes, that's not all. Because Giovanni also died.
Oh.
When he leaned out of the door to push Shelly, he leaned too far out. And he fell from the minivan as it's speeding down the road. Now he's hitting the ground at 50, 60 miles an hour. And witnesses say that he fell and he like tumbled and then ran into a lamppost, struck it with his head, died right there.
Karma right there, sir.
Immediate. Immediate. Like as you are killing her, you die. So both Shelly, because they think she lived for a couple moments, but he is instantly dead the moment he hits the lamppost. Like even if he may have survived the other injuries, the lamppost strike was the last one. So both Shelly and Giovanni were pronounced dead at the scene. Despite onlookers trying to perform, I know they tried to perform CPR on Shelly. I don't know if they realized Giovanni was gone. So when Giovanni fell out of the van, Rodrigo kept driving down the road, never stopping to check what happened to his passenger.
Oh my God.
I know. And later, Rodrigo was found by authorities and he was brought in for charges of open murder, violating his parole, and failing his duty to stop at the scene of an accident. And they say that before Giovanni even knocked Shelly down, he had tried to knock over another couple who were biking but missed them. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. So there were 2 deer hunter deaths I want to talk about. One fits the scenario, the other doesn't. I just got confused. So here we go.
Okay.
So in late October of 2019, there was a man from Yellville, Arkansas named Thomas Alexander, and he was hunting deer. And the 66-year-old man had managed to shoot this buck with a muzzle loader. And the muzzle loader is like the old timey guns where you put the powder and shit in the front of the muzzle of the gun, you know, not nowadays where you load it in the back.
Yeah.
And he shoots the deer with this old timey gun. And after taking the shot, Thomas, who is an experienced hunter, then approaches what he thinks is the deer carcass. However, the deer was not dead. And when he got to the deer, the deer ends up attacking him. And the deer's antlers punctured his chest cavity. They like entered his lungs and then they severed an artery. And one article, okay, so and then I was so confused. So I'm reading these different articles. So some articles say that he was with his nephew and he called his wife to say that the deer attacked him. And another article said that he was lone, but that he called a family member saying that the deer had attacked him. And it's like, so I don't know. Either way, he was able to call someone and that person called 911 and help was sent. But Thomas did not survive despite receiving medical attention. So the one thing I just couldn't find, and I don't know if you know, if your brain went there too, but did the deer die?
Right.
Like, and I just want you to know, Jen, should a deer kill me, I want you to eat that deer. I want you to wear its pelt as a cape. I want you to make shivs out of its antlers and ashtrays out of its hooves. I want you to like annihilate the fucking deer should this deer kill me. And so I'm reading this and I'm like, but did the deer die? Did somebody get to take the deer? Because the fucking deer killed him and he deserves to get something for it. You know what I mean?
Right. There's got to be justice.
Justice. God dang it. So something had happened this year in Michigan on October 16, 2020. And I thought it was the same scenario, but I was wrong. This man named Greg Salisbury, he was 61. He died while deer hunting in Portage, Michigan. And I was like, oh, it's the same thing where the deer went after him after the deer was wounded. But actually, no, he was known to have health problems, and he was an experienced deer hunter, and he did kill this doe. But when he went to go get the doe, he actually suffered some type of health crisis and died. And his body was found near the home. So this is what I was thinking. And I swear to God, I spent a solid 15 minutes thinking after that, like, was Greg lucky because he died doing something he really enjoyed? Or was Greg unlucky because he was alone? Like, I was like, he's lucky, because this was like going over and over in my head last night. I'm like, he's lucky. I think if it was like really quick, you know what I mean? You're doing something you love, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're gone. But if you're like, suddenly you're not feeling well, you're trying to get to help, you're all by yourself, unlucky. No.
Right, but I would want to die doing something that I loved.
Okay. So still lucky.
Even if I knew I was about to die, at least I was doing something that I enjoyed doing.
Okay, you're right. Let's look at the positive side of things. Let's do that. All right, so I've got a failed murder plot here for the last one.
Okay.
So this woman had broken up with Henry David Every, who was 49 years old in January 2020, because he then broke into her home there's actually a city in Maine called Mexico. Confused the shit out of me, because they kept talking about Mexico, but then every now and then it'd say Maine. But it is a city in Maine named Mexico.
Okay. So
he breaks into her home in Mexico, Maine, that she shared with her daughter. And he waited, and I don't know how the daughter is, and I don't know much about the women, because they're victims, their names and information are not given. So, which is the right thing to do. So he waits in the basement, and she comes home, and he waits longer, just until midnight, drinking beer to pass the time in her basement. Until like just after midnight. Then he goes upstairs to his ex-girlfriend's bedroom, and he's armed with a .38 caliber semi-automatic pistol. He hits his ex-girlfriend on the neck and the back of the head with the gun. And then he tries to smother her by pressing her face in the pillow. And he tells her he's going to kill her, and he puts the gun to his temple. When he pulls the trigger, his victim hears the gun click, but it misfires and nothing happens. So it just goes click, but nothing happens. So undeterred, he unloads the bullet from the chamber and tries to reload it again. So now she's starting to struggle to defend herself, because he's got to let go to try to reload the gun. So he takes the bullet out of the chamber, puts the bullet back in. She pushes him off, and he's about 2 feet away. He points the trigger at her again, aiming at her face, and click, a second time, and it fires. So this time he takes the bullet out, and he tries to load the gun with another bullet and to put another one in. Now at this point, his intended victim, I think he takes the bullet out, and he's like trying to like recock the gun or something, because he's got both hands off her at this point, and she's able to stand up and reach for the phone as she's trying to get away. And from about 2 or 3 feet away from her, he aims the gun again, pulls the trigger again, and this time it does go off, and the bullet misses her, even though he's that close to her, and it lodges into the wall behind her, and she drops to the floor. Now she's like covering her head with both hands. And he begins to threaten her daughter, who is sleeping in the next room. And so she starts to pound on the wall, yelling for her daughter to wake up and run to safety. But instead, her daughter comes in the room and pushes him away from the door. He's holding their bedroom door shut. And when the daughter tells him to, now, according to the newspapers, the daughter tells him to stop, and he goes back to the basement. But I'm going to tell you why I think there's more to it than that. But hold on, let me keep going. So the two then manage to open the bedroom window, push out the screen, and escape from the house, and they call 911. And by 1:30 in the morning, the police are at her home, and they're responding to a call about a man who is threatening to commit suicide. And when they called him, Henry said he was going to finish drinking his beer, because he's back in the basement with his beer. Yeah. Then he was going to have a chew of tobacco, and then he was willing to come out of the house without a gun once he was done. So in the basement, the police do find his beer, his tobacco, his spit bottle, his gun. I mean, they find the spent bullet casing, so they know that everything is as the woman said. He has 8 counts against him: aggravated assault, domestic violence, reckless conduct with a weapon, domestic violence, criminal threatening with a dangerous weapon, domestic violence, terrorizing with the dangerous weapon, obstructing the report of a crime or injury, burglary, and 2 counts of attempted murder. Now, that last part, the 2 counts of attempted murder, the newspapers kept saying that the daughter yelled for him to stop and that made him leave and go back down to the basement. But attempted murder means he did something to the daughter. Or is it because he tried to shoot her twice? That's 2 counts?
Or
I don't get it, because he actually tried to shoot her 3 times and misfired twice. Or does 2 counts mean he threatened 2 different people?
right.
Like the daughter and the mom?
Or the bullet that went through the wall went into the daughter's bedroom, which then could be considered that, I would think.
Okay.
Can't believe
It could be it. I'll say either way, the women did not die.
Right.
He did not win.
And
he's in jail now. And like I said, he's got 8 counts. So I hope it was worth it.
Right. I think it's crazy how he's doing all this and then the daughter comes in and he just goes back to the basement.
See, that's what I don't get. I just feel like something's been left out.
Like, I feel like if I'm going to murder...
stop, and he's like, he just tried to shoot her 3 times, and he's like, oh, she said stop, so let me go downstairs. Like, what? I
figure, like, when they're, somebody's there to murder you, some young person telling you to stop isn't going to get you to stop.
Yeah, and I thought, and I didn't know, so the daughter is below the age of 18, or they... or something. I don't, maybe not, because they don't mention the names. I'm like, is she 8 years old? Is she 17? Like, but they don't have to give that information because that's private in their victims. So but I was just like, oh my gosh,
that is crazy.
It was hard to tell, but yeah, that's it. I know, isn't that wild?
That is crazy. I think I still can't get over the guy pushing her off the bicycle, the other story with the guy pushing her off the bicycle and then dies hitting the lamppost.
Yes, and he immediately dies. He killed someone, and in the actual act of killing her, dies.
And I hope that she stayed alive long enough to realize he was dead.
Yeah, I know that someone runs up and goes, he's dead.
Yeah. He died too.
Yeah, so rest in peace. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right, John. I will talk to you later, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Contact us at Anchor or Michigan and Other Mayhem at gmail.com or on Facebook to join the conversation, listen to the podcast, or correct us when necessary. Rate and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast provider. Bye-bye now.